So this is my shark tank that I'm currently putting together at the moment, and one thing I get a lot of comments on is I get a lot of people saying, why hasn't it got round edges? Because there is a common misconception that you cannot have sharks in an aquarium unless it's got round edges. Now, it is absolutely true that if the sharks are stressed, they will do better settling into an aquarium with round edges. But if you've got a very generously sized aquarium and you allow the animal to settle in, then I have no problem teaching them to navigate the square corners. So the first thing that I'll do when I actually put the shark in the tank is that I'll black this end out. So then when the shark comes swimming down the length, this end is black. Then I will put air bubble curtains in each corner. Because when the shark typically comes down one side of the aquarium, usually against the current, because I'm going to have the current swirling in this aquarium at about 10 times an hour in this direction. So therefore the shark will typically swim up the back against the current and then swim around and swim up against the current. So then as it comes down this corner, if it meets a black face and it's got bubbles in the corner, the sharks tend to avoid the bubbles. So they swim, they avoid the bubbles, they come around this face, there's bubbles in that corner, they avoid the bubbles, they go down that side. After the shark gets used to the length and gets used to the proximity of the aquarium, I then can remove the black off this window, and I will not need the black on this window because the shark will quickly learn where the end of the tank is. So just by having air curtains, air bubbles in each corner, an air stone in each corner, and the short ends blacked out, the shark will easily learn where the borders of the aquarium is, because as you can imagine, they don't enjoy running into the glass, and only when they're freaked out, usually at the start, will they actually be stupid enough to actually run into the glass. So because this is a nice big tank, it'll hold almost 20,000 litres, there'll be plenty of room for the animal to move around, and obviously I'm going to put the animal in here as small as possible, because you want to start with a tiny little baby shark, and they have done studies that suggest that fish, and therefore sharks, actually have no concept of their own growth. So the idea is you put the animal in here as small as you can. The shark will actually emit pheromones and phenols and various things that will stunt its growth, as would a fish, as would a plant. It's a very natural, well understood phenomenon, and the animal doesn't actually think to itself, oh, I wish I was in the ocean, because if you get them small and they've got room to swim around when they're small, then as they grow, they don't have any idea that there's anything else available, because they aren't like humans. They don't have reasonable minds. They don't think to themselves, oh, I wish I was out in the ocean, I'm sick of this fish tank. So the way that you can tell though when a shark does eventually get too big for the aquarium is it will start to tail drag. So if you see the shark swimming and it's relatively flat, that means the shark is nice and happy. If over a period of time, as the shark grows, if it starts to swim with its tail dragging, so its tail starts to flop down, then you can assume that the shark has got too big for the aquarium, and therefore it's time to let it go or find it a bigger aquarium where the animal can actually be happy. So the best sharks to keep in aquariums like this basically are black-tip reef sharks. I'm considering catching a little baby bull, but I'll only be having it in here for a very short period of time, hopefully well and truly way before I start to see any tail dragging. But in the long term, I think I'll be keeping black-tip reef sharks in this tank because it's well and truly big enough to keep those animals, and I'll be able to keep them happy long term in this size tank. Anyway, if you've got any comments, put it down the bottom, and subscribe to my channel. There's always lots of interesting things happening down here at Majestic Aquariums, so stay in touch.